The cry in the wreckage in the middle of the dark alien forest. The night was silent and cold. Strange blue trees glowed softly under the pale light of 2 moons. It was a place where even the bravest animals hid from the shadows. Only the wind moved, whispering secrets through the leaves. But tonight, there was something new in the forest. Something that did not belong. It was a low, weak cry sound, so small and soft that it could almost be the wind. But to John Miller, a human explorer with sharp ears and a kind heart, it was a call for help. John stopped, listening. He was on a supply run, his pack full of food and medicine. He had only planned to cross the forest and return before sunrise, but that sound changed everything. He listened again. The cry came once more, but now it was joined by another 2 voices, then 3, each one full of fear and pain. It sounded like babies, alien babies. John's mind raced. He had heard stories of crashed ships and lost travelers, but never anything like this. He moved carefully, pushing past thick blue leaves, his flashlight cutting a path through the shadows. Then, he saw the remains of a spaceship half buried in the earth, metal twisted and smoking. The crash was recent. Pieces of glowing alien tech lay scattered all around, lighting up the broken ground. It looked like no ship John had ever seen, with strange markings and soft organic shapes. But what caught his eye was the movement near. The broken door. He crept closer, his heart beating fast. The cries grew louder, desperate and raw. He found them in a small compartment, just inside the ruined ship. 3 tiny alien babies, each wrapped in torn silver blankets. Their skin was a soft lavender color, and their eyes were huge, shining with tears. Their heads were shaped a little like human babies, but with little glowing lines running down their cheeks. They were shivering and hungry, reaching out with tiny shaking hands. John felt a wave of sadness and anger. Who could leave such helpless little ones behind? Where were their parents? Why had no one come? He knelt down, speaking gently. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." But the babies only cried harder. They did not understand his words, but they could sense his kindness. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small pack of water. Carefully, he gave each baby a sip. Their hands clung to his fingers, trusting him because they had no one else. Suddenly, a loud snap echoed through the trees behind him. John froze. He turned off his flashlight and listened. The forest was alive with new sounds: branches breaking, leaves rustling, something big moving in the dark. He felt eyes watching him. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Was it a wild animal, another human, or something far worse? John made a quick decision. He scooped the 3 alien babies into his arms, wrapping them in his own jacket. There. Small bodies pressed close to his chest, searching for warmth. He hurried out of the ship, every sense alert. He could feel something following him, hidden in the shadows as he ran. The babies whimpered softly, their glowing eyes wide with fear. John whispered, "Hold on, little ones. I won't let anything happen to you." He made his way to a narrow trail he knew well, one that would lead him to an old, abandoned shelter deep in the forest. But the thing behind him did not stop. It moved quietly, always just out of sight, matching his pace. John could feel its presence, cold and sharp-like. A knife at his back. He glanced over his shoulder, but saw nothing except shifting shadows and glowing blue leaves. He reached the old shelter. A broken-down building left by explorers years ago. Inside, it was cold and dark, but safe for now. John set the babies down on a soft bed of blankets he found in a locker. They watched him with big, silent eyes. He checked them for injuries, but found only hunger and exhaustion. He wondered what kind of creatures they were. Why had their ship crashed? It was searching for them in the forest. And, most of all, how would he keep them safe until morning? Outside, the forest was no longer quiet. Strange guttural sounds echoed through the night. John locked the door and sat down beside the babies, his mind racing with worry and hope. He promised himself he would protect them, no matter what. As the babies finally drifted into sleep, John kept watch, knowing this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, something dangerous was searching for the man for him. But for tonight, at least, he was their hero. Asterisk the silent pursuer, sharp crack split the silence outside the old shelter. John's eyes snapped open. He hadn't meant to sleep, but exhaustion had caught up with him. Now, a cold wind blew through the cracks in the walls, carrying whispers and the faintest scent of smoke. He could sense that danger had come closer. The 3 alien babies were curled up together, glowing softly in the dark. Even in their sleep, they trembled. John checked his old rifle and crept to the window. The sky outside was turning gray, with the first hint of dawn. Somewhere in the trees, something moved. He saw a shape, quick and silent, vanishing as soon as he looked at it. John's breath misted in the cold air. He knew these forests. No animal moved like that. Someone was tracking them, someone who did not want the babies to be safe. Suddenly, one of the babies began to cry, its little hands reaching out. John knelt down, gently picking it up. Its lavender skin shimmered in the weak light, and glowing lines blinked along its cheeks. The baby pressed its face against John's neck, trembling. The other 2 woke up, frightened by the noise. "It's okay, John whispered, his heart pounding. "No one's going to hurt you. I promise." He took out a bottle of water and some crushed protein biscuits. He offered a piece to each baby, but they sniffed it and turned away, their faces pinched with hunger. John tried again, softer, breaking the food into smaller pieces. At last, one of the babies opened its mouth and nibbled. Its eyes brightened, and soon the other 2 copied it. Relief washed over John, but it didn't last. Outside, another snap echoed closer now. John looked around the tiny shelter. There was only one door and a broken window. Someone wanted to come in, they could. He moved quickly, stuffing supplies into his backpack. He wrapped the babies in a thick old blanket, securing them close to his chest with a sling he tore from a curtain. Their tiny bodies pressed against him, their hearts beating fast. John listened at the door. No footsteps, only the steady drip of water from the trees. He opened the door a crack. A flash of silver caught his eye, something metallic, half hidden behind a rock. Was it a weapon? A piece of armor? He squinted, then ducked back inside. His mind raced. What if it was another survivor from the crash? Or a hunter sent to retrieve the babies? Or worse, a bounty hunter, like the ones from old spaceport tales, who cared more for credits than for life itself? There was no time to wait. John slipped outside, moving as quietly as he could. He kept to the shadows, avoiding any open ground. The forest was waking up now. Alien birds called, their voices sharp and high, while strange insects buzzed around glowing flowers. John took the secret trail, one only locals knew. It wound through thick roots and underhanging vines, leading deeper into the wild, away from the crash and the dangerous eyes that watched from the dark. The babies whimpered as they bounced against his chest. John tried to soothe them, humming a quiet song his mother used to sing. It seemed to help. Their cries faded, replaced by soft, sleepy sighs. Hours passed. John's legs ached. His mind drifted back to his own childhood memories of hiding, of being afraid, of hoping someone would come to help. Now he was the helper. He was their only hope. Suddenly, the trail ended at a wide, shallow river. The water ran fast and cold, sparkling under the morning sun. John hesitated. He could try to cross, but it would be risky. The babies might get wet and sick, or worse, swept away. He heard another sound, boots crunching on leaves, slow and careful. He had no choice. Holding the babies tight, John waded into the icy water. It bit at his legs, and the babies cried out. He whispered encouragement, forcing himself forward. Step by step, on the far bank, John slipped on a smooth stone and almost fell. He caught himself just in time, clutching the babies as he reached the safety of the other side. He crouched behind a fallen log, gasping for breath, heart thundering. From the shadows on the opposite bank, a figure stepped out. Tall, wrapped in dark armor, face hidden by a mask. The silent pursuer stood, watching the river, scanning the ground. For a long moment, John held his breath, afraid to move. The figure bent down, touching the spot where John had crossed. Examined the mud, then looked up, staring straight toward John's hiding place. For a second, John thought he'd been seen. But then, the pursuer turned and vanished into the trees, moving with unnatural grace and silence. John waited, his hands shaking. The babies whimpered softly. When he was sure the figure was gone, he hurried into the forest again, searching for another safe place. He didn't know who the pursuer was or what they wanted, but he knew one thing: he could not stop. He would not give up, not when 3 innocent lives depended on him. John kept moving, deeper into the unknown, the alien babies close to his heart. He was just a human, alone on a strange world, but he refused to let fear win. If anyone wanted to take the babies, they would have to face him first, and in the darkness, the silent pursuer followed, always one step behind. The alien hunt begins. A red sun rose above the alien forest, painting everything in strange light. John moved carefully through the shadows, keeping the alien babies close against his chest. The cold from the river still clung to his clothes. The babies, wrapped in their makeshift sling, stared up at him with wide, shining eyes. John was tired, hungry, and afraid, but he kept going. Every step took him deeper into unfamiliar ground. The trees here were thicker and taller, their trunks twisted like sleeping snakes. Colorful flowers bloomed in the undergrowth, and blue moths floated through the morning air. But the forest was not peaceful. In the distance, something howled. It was not any animal John had heard before. The sound echoed through the trees and made the babies shiver. John gripped his old rifle tighter. He stopped at a clearing to catch his breath. For a moment, it was quiet. The babies nuzzled into his chest, soft and warm. John smiled and wiped a tear from one baby's cheek. But suddenly, a high-pitched beep came from his belt, a warning from his scanner. Someone else was nearby. John ducked behind a fallen log and listened. Voices drifted through the trees, alien voices, low and rough, speaking in a language he did not know. He peeked over the log. 3 figures in black armor moved through the clearing, their heads turning as they scanned the ground. John's heart hammered in his chest. He remembered the stories he'd heard on the space station. Bounty hunters, hired to find lost royal heirs no matter the cost. These babies were not just any lost children, they were important, maybe even royal. That meant the hunters would never stop searching. He pressed the babies closer, whispering, "Stay quiet, little ones." One of the babies closed its eyes and pressed a tiny hand against John's heart. He felt a sudden warmth, and a calm washed over him. The baby was doing something, sharing its energy. The fear in John's chest faded, replaced by hope. The hunters moved closer, weapons ready. John had to act fast. He crawled away from the log, careful not to make a sound. He found a narrow animal trail and slipped into the shadows. Every muscle in his body was tense, but the babies remained calm. As John crept through the thick brush, A root caught his foot and he stumbled, almost falling. The baby squeaked, but didn't cry. The hunters shouted, their voices closer now. John pushed himself up and ran, crashing through the brush. The babies bouncing against him. He found himself at the edge of a cliff. The ground dropped away sharply, rocks falling into a misty abyss. The only way out was a narrow, slippery ledge. John looked back. The hunters were closing in, laser sights cutting through the fog. With no time left, John held the babies close and edged along the ledge. Rocks crumbled under his boots. The babies squeezed their eyes shut, gripping his shirt with tiny hands. One of them whimpered and the ledge shook. Suddenly, a small rock broke free. John's foot slipped. For a heartbeat, he hung over the abyss, the babies' lives in his hands. Then, something strange happened. Soft blue light glowed from the baby's skin. The air grew thick, and John felt himself gently pushed back onto the ledge as if invisible hands were saving him. John gasped in shock, looking at the babies in awe. One of them blinked and smiled, as if to say, "Don't worry, we're here too." He made it across the ledge and into a hidden cave. The hunters reached the cliff, but did not dare to follow. John crouched at the cave's entrance, heart racing, holding the baby's clothes. Inside, the cave was dry and warm. John sat against the stone wall, catching his breath. He realized now these babies were not helpless at all. They had powers he did not understand. One could heal wounds with a touch. Another could sense danger before it happened. And the third, he was sure now, could move things with its mind. John understood what this meant. The hunters would never give up because these babies were more valuable than gold. But he made a promise to himself he would protect them, no matter what. As the sun set outside, John listened to the hunters argue on the cliff. They were angry, confused, and soon left to search elsewhere. John stayed awake, holding the babies in his arms. The cave felt like a safe place for now. He thought about how his life had changed in just 2 days. He was no longer just an explorer or a survivor. He was now the protector of 3 special lives that could change the fate of an entire world. As the babies drifted to sleep, John whispered, "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe. I promise." In the darkness, the soft glow of the babies lit the cave, and John felt hope return. But far away, in the shadows of the forest, the hunt was just beginning. Bonds of cold rain fell outside the cave, turning the forest into a world of silver mist and dripping leaves. Inside, John sat near the entrance, keeping watch. The alien babies slept close together, their soft blue glow lighting the stone walls like nightlights. The cave was small and hidden, but John knew it was only a matter of time before the hunters returned. He reached into his pack, checking his last food rations. Not much left, just a protein bars and half a bottle of water. The babies needed something more, but he didn't know what. He wondered if the strange plants growing outside would help, or if they would make the babies sick. He felt helpless. Suddenly, the smallest baby whimpered, its body shivering. John hurried over. The baby's lavender skin had faded to a pale, sickly color. Its eyes were only half open, glowing weakly. The other 2 babies touched their sibling, worried. John's heart pounded. He needed to act fast. He wrapped the sick baby in his jacket, holding it close. He checked its forehead, but he didn't know what was normal for an alien. He remembered seeing a bright orange plant near the river, with thick, sticky sap. Maybe it was medicine. Maybe it was poison. But he had no choice. John placed the other 2 babies gently in a basket he'd made from leaves and rope. "Stay here. I'll be right back," he whispered. The healthy babies stared at him with wide, trusting eyes. They reached for his hand as he left, and he squeezed their tiny fingers, promising silently to return. Outside, the rain beat down. Ran through the trees, searching for the orange plant. The world was full of shadows. Every sound made him jump. Somewhere in the distance, a voice echoed a hunter shouting in an alien language. John ducked behind a rock, holding his breath until the danger passed. He found the plant by the river, its petals bright against the mud. He snapped off a leaf, sticky orange sap oozing out. John tasted a drop bitter, but not burning. He hoped it would help. He filled his pocket and hurried back to the cave, heart pounding inside. The sick baby was even weaker. The other two babies were silent, their glows dim. John knelt beside them, feeling desperate. He dipped his finger in the orange sap and touched it to the baby's lips. The baby's eyes fluttered. It licked the sap, then fell still. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the glowing lines on the baby's cheeks brightened, pulsing softly. Its skin returned to its gentle lavender. The baby opened its eyes wide and let out a soft, grateful chirp. John breathed a sigh of relief, tears stinging his eyes. The other two babies climbed onto his lap, hugging his arm. Their trust was clear. Now they knew he would never leave them. He stroked their tiny heads, amazed by their courage. The rain eased. As the sun broke through the clouds, a quiet humming sound filled the cave. John turned. Alien woman stood at the entrance, tall and thin, with blue skin and dark, worried eyes. She wore a simple cloak made of woven leaves. In her hands, she carried a bundle of roots and herbs. John stood, ready to defend the babies. But the alien woman raised her hands, showing she meant no harm. She spoke softly in her language, then switched to broken English. "I help," she said. "I know babies, you, good man." John let her come closer, but watched her every move. The babies looked up at her, and she knelt down, touching their foreheads with a gentle hand. She checked their pulses, then handed John a bundle of purple roots. "For babies. Make strong," she explained. They worked together, mixing the roots with water and feeding the babies tiny sips. The babies smiled, their strength returning. The alien woman told John her name Yura. She lived alone, hiding from the hunters. She had seen John cross the river and guessed he was not an enemy. John thanked her. He felt a warmth in his heart, stronger than any fear. "I just want them safe," he said. Yura nodded. "Danger still comes, hunters everywhere. But you have heart. Babies feel it. They trust you." That night, John and Yura made a plan. She would watch for hunters, using her knowledge of the forest to warn them. John would gather food and supplies, always careful not to leave a trail. The babies grew stronger each day, their powers returning a healing touch. A sense of danger, a gentle telekinetic push that sometimes startled John but also made him laugh. As the days passed, John and the babies became a family. They trusted each other, their bond deeper than words. Yura watched over them like a guardian spirit. But outside, the hunters searched harder, drawing closer every night. John lay awake, listening to the baby's soft breathing, knowing the final test was coming soon. But for now, inside the little cave, he found peace, a rare thing in a wild, uncertain world. The betrayal. The morning light crept into the cave, painting soft colors across the stone. John sat with the alien babies, showing them how to stack smooth river rocks. The smallest baby giggled, lifting a pebble with her mind and spinning it. In the air, Kira, their alien friend, smiled as she ground purple roots into powder for breakfast. It felt, for a moment, almost peaceful. But outside, the world was not safe. The hunters' patrols were growing bolder. Every night, Yura returned from her watch with stories of ships landing nearby and strangers questioning anyone they found. The forest was shrinking, and John knew they couldn't hide forever. Later that day, a strange noise echoed from deep. In the woods voices, loud and urgent, and the crackle of a Cum's device. John tensed. He handed Uriah the powder and crept outside, careful not to step on dry branches. In a clearing, he saw 3 human explorers from the nearby settlement. Their faces were familiar, but their eyes were cold. John. "You're alive," called one, a man named Lewis who'd once shared a campfire meal with him. "We heard about the crash. You all right?" John forced a smile. "Just getting by, found a safe place to lay low." Lewis and the others nodded, glancing at the pack. On John's back, "You got anything good? Food? Water?" John hesitated. "A little. You've seen any ships out here? Aliens?" Lewis's eyes narrowed. "Maybe. Why? You know something?" Before John could answer, a baby's soft cry floated out from the cave. Lewis's head snapped toward the sound. "What was that?" he demanded. John's heart pounded. "Just foundlings. Lost kids, trying to help." The third explorer, a woman named Samira, stepped closer. "We heard there's a bounty on alien babies. Big money from off-worlders. Are you hiding them, John?" John shook his head. "They're helpless. They need protection, not hunters." Lewis scowled. "The reward could change our lives. Enough to buy passage off this rock forever." John saw the greed in their eyes. He took a step back, ready to run. But Samira blocked his way, holding a plasma pistol low at her side. Inside the cave, the babies felt John's fear. Their glowing lines brightened, filling the cave with a blue haze. Uriah gathered the babies close, whispering for them to stay quiet. Lewis shouted, "Show us the kids, John. We won't hurt you. Just hand them over." John glanced at the cave. He knew if they saw the babies, they'd never leave peacefully. He needed a plan and fast. He reached into his bag, pulling out the last protein bar. "You want food? Here, take it. Let me go back to my camp. The babies are sick. Nothing but trouble." Samira's eyes darted between John and the cave. "We want to see them now." The babies, sensing the danger, did something new. The smallest reached out with her mind, nudging a rock outside the cave. It tumbled down the slope, startling Lewis and Samurai in that split second. John ran, grabbing Samira's arm and twisting her pistol away. Lewis lunged at him, but John ducked, slamming his shoulder into Lewis's chest. The explorers fell in a tangle of arms and shouts. Uriah dashed from the cave, carrying the babies wrapped in the thick blanket. John shouted, "Run, to the river." Samira fired, but the blast missed, burning a tree trunk instead. John grabbed Uriah's hand, helping her over the rocks as the babies squealed in fright. They raced through the undergrowth, the explorers right behind them. At the river's edge, John and Uriah slid down the bank. The water was fast and cold, but there was no other way. John waded in first, holding two babies tight, while Uriah carried the third. The explorers hesitated, their boots slipping on the muddy bank. Samira aimed her pistol again, but the smallest baby reached out with her mind. A fallen branch lifted from the ground and smacked the weapon from Samira's hand. It spun away, splashing into the river. John called, "Hold on," and plunged into the water. The babies clung to him, their little faces determined. The current pulled at his legs, but he fought across, pulling Uriah along. Behind them, Lewis cursed and fired a wild shot. But the river was too wide, breathless. John and Uriah scrambled onto the far shore, safe for now. The babies' glows lit the mist, their eyes wide but proud. Uriah hugged John. "You are strong. They trust you." John knew the betrayal had changed everything. They could never return to the cave. Their enemies now included not just hunters, but humans he once called friends. But as they moved deeper into the forest, the babies nestled close, stronger than ever. And John's resolve burned brighter. He would never let them fall into the hands of those who saw them as nothing but a prize. Together, they disappeared into the wild, where hope was small but still alive. The final stand thunder rolled across the sky as night fell over the alien forest. Lightning flashed, turning the trees into long, moving shadows. John, Yura, and the three babies pushed onward, soaked by rain and chased by fear. Every branch felt like a warning. Every sound in the dark set John's nerves on edge. They had lost everything: their shelter, their food, and any hope of safety. Now, with hunters and greedy humans both searching, there was nowhere left to run. John paused under a giant mossy tree, gasping for breath. He looked down at the babies, wrapped tightly in his old jacket, pressed close to Yura's chest. Their glows had faded. They were tired, frightened, and hungry. Yura stroked their small heads, whispering in her alien language, promising hope even as her own voice shook in the distance. A sudden shout cut through the storm. John's eyes snapped to the ridge above. There, outlined by lightning, stood the hunters, 4 of them now, black armor shining wet in the storm. Behind them, Lewis and Samira, former friends, crept forward, weapons drawn and faces hard. They had all joined together, greedy for the prize. "We have to move," John whispered, but there was nowhere to go. The river blocked one side. Steep cliffs rose on the other. The only path led straight toward the enemy. Yura clutched the babies and met John's eyes. "We fight or we hide." John looked around. A boulder jutted out near the cliff's edge, its base hollowed by rain. "There, quick." He and Yura slipped into the shelter, hiding in the darkness. The babies whimpered, but John pressed a finger to his lips, praying they'd stay quiet. Outside, boots splashed through the mud. Flashlights flicked across the rocks. "We know you're here," Lewis called, voice echoing. "Hand over the babies and you walk away, we promise." John held his breath as footsteps came closer. The hunters moved like wolves, sniffing the air, searching for heat with their scanners. John's heart pounded so loudly he feared it would give them away. Suddenly, one of the babies, the oldest, with glowing green eyes, touched John's hand. A strange warmth filled his chest. He felt a memory that wasn't his, hiding in a ship, surrounded by love, then fear, then darkness. He realized the baby was sharing its feelings, giving him courage when he needed it most. Lewis stopped only meters away. "Last chance, John," he shouted. "You can't win." Samira scanned the area, her device beeping. "Something's here," she whispered to the hunters. "They're close." John looked at Yura. She nodded, eyes fierce. He knew what he had to do. He crawled out from the boulder's shadow, rifle in hand. "Leave us alone," he shouted. "These children did nothing wrong." Lewis laughed, raising his pistol. "Step aside, John. You're outnumbered." But John didn't move. Behind him, the babies started to glow brighter. The youngest lifted a hand, and suddenly a swirl of wind rose, carrying leaves and dust in a small storm. The hunters staggered back, confused. Yura rushed out with the babies, holding them up. "They are not prizes," she cried in her alien tongue. "They are lives." The babies' powers flared together. The oldest calmed minds. The middle one sensed danger and shielded them. The youngest pushed objects and even people with invisible force. The wind grew, circling John and Yura like a shield. Samira fired, but the blast twisted away in the storm. Lewis shouted, blinded by the swirling leaves. A hunter aimed a laser at John, but the oldest baby's eyes flashed. The hunter staggered. Dropping his weapon, his mind filled with images of home and family. Suddenly unable to fight, John stood firm, heart pounding with pride and fear. "I won't let you take them," Lewis roared, pushing through the wind, but John blocked his path. The ground shook as the youngest baby lifted a heavy rock and sent it tumbling between them. The enemy stumbled, afraid. Suddenly, a loud horn sounded in the sky. All eyes turned upward as a large alien ship broke through the clouds, its engines roaring. Blue lights swept across the forest, and a voice boomed. "Stand down. These children are under our protection." The hunters panicked. Samira and Lewis dropped their weapons and ran. The black-armored aliens hesitated, but then melted into the darkness. The ship landed with a hiss of steam. Doors opened, and figures in silver armor stepped out tall, regal, with kind eyes. They rushed to the babies, speaking in the gentle, alien tongue. John collapsed to his knees, tears mixing with rain. He looked at Yura and smiled. "We did it. They're safe." The babies reached for John, their eyes shining. Even as the aliens gathered them close, they clung to his hands. He had fought for them, risked everything, and, in that moment, John knew he would do it all again. In the chaos and thunder, a human had made a stand and 3 alien lives were saved. Chosen by the stars, the storm faded, leaving only the sound of gentle rain and the humming engines of the alien ship. The hunters were gone, the traitors had fled, and the danger was over, at least for tonight. John sat on the wet grass, exhausted but relieved. His body ached from running, fighting, and carrying the babies for so long. The babies themselves now rested safely in the arms of their own kind tall, silver-armored aliens whose faces were kind and wise. Yura stood close to John, her eyes shining with pride and sadness. One of the aliens, a woman with glowing blue markings on her cheeks and a golden sash on her arm, knelt before John. Her voice was gentle, but carried a strength that silenced the forest. "You saved them, our children, our future. We can never repay this debt." John shook his head, embarrassed. "I just did what anyone should do. They needed help. They trusted me." The alien leader smiled. "Not everyone would have risked their life for strangers. You showed true courage, John Miller. Your actions will echo among the stars for generations." The babies reached out, their small hands grabbing John's fingers. Their eyes were full of love, but also sadness. They sensed he was about to say goodbye. The oldest, whose glowing green eyes had always watched John with wonder, pressed her forehead gently to his. For a brief moment, John saw visions in his mind, stars swirling, cities made of crystal, and laughter that echoed through worlds. He felt all the hope and dreams of the babies, as if they were sharing their gratitude. Tears filled John's eyes. He hugged each baby close, whispering, "Be brave, be kind, you're safe now." They chirped and glowed even brighter, their powers gentle and warm. YIRA spoke softly to the alien leader. "He is one of us, in heart if not in blood. He protected the little ones with everything he had." The leader nodded. "John Miller, will you come with us? We offer you a home among the stars. Our worlds are many. There are more who need protectors, like you." John looked at the ship, then at Yura and the babies. His whole life had been spent drifting, no family, no roots, only survival. Now, for the first time, he felt like he belonged somewhere. He hesitated, remembering the forest, the betrayals, the loss. "I don't know your ways. I'm just human. Will I fit in?" The leader placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are chosen by the stars, John. Not because of your blood, but because of your heart. Our children have chosen you, too." Yura touched John's arm, smiling through her tears. "Go. The little ones will need you, even among their own kind." John's doubts faded. He stood, wiping the rain from his face, and nodded. "All right, I'll come. I'll protect them. I'll learn." The aliens cheered softly, their voices musical in the night. The leader beckoned John and Yura onto the ship. As they climbed aboard, the babies nestled into John's arms again, smiling and babbling in their alien tongue. The other aliens made way for them, bowing their heads in respect. Inside, the ship was bright and beautiful. Silver walls glowed with soft lights, and the air smelled of fresh flowers. The aliens welcomed John with food and warm blankets. For the first time in many nights, he felt truly safe. As the ship rose above the treetops, John looked out the window. Below, the wounded forest stretched into darkness. But the sky above was clear, filled with countless stars. Somewhere among them waited new worlds, new friends, and new stories. The babies fell asleep in John's arms, trusting him completely. The leader stood beside him, watching the stars. "You will never be alone again, John. Our people will honor your name. You are a hero, not just to us, but to all who believe in hope." John smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest that no storm could ever take away. He was no longer just a survivor or an outsider. He was part of a new family chosen by the stars, loved by those he had saved, and remembered by a galaxy. And as the ship soared into the unknown, John closed his eyes, holding the babies close. The adventure was far from over, but now he would never have to face it alone.